Hi guys, welcome to Investing Possibility Conscious Community. I'm so grateful all of you guys are here now and also watching on the replay. So thank you guys for being here. I just want to let you know we have a Telegram group. So if you guys want to join that group, I have a link. You can DM me or comment on one of my posts and I'll send you the link for the Telegram group. It's called Conscious Community. And we have a whole bunch of mentors in there. We have a whole bunch of intelligent people in there. We have everybody helping everybody. It's just a community you want to be in. If you have questions, we have answers. So if you guys want to come and join the Telegram group, just reach out to me, Investing Possibility, on Instagram, or leave your name in the comments and I can send you guys the link. And I'm so glad for you guys to be here. Today, we are going to be talking about Be the One to Execute Your Trust. And I read a book by David Robinson. It was published July 2012. And I am so glad to have read this book because it has opened my eyes to another perspective of this reality. And I'm going to share a little bit about my notes that I took on the book. And if you guys want the PDF file, just go ahead and message me on Instagram and I'll be glad to give you the PDF. If not, you guys can go to Amazon and buy the book for, I think it's like $8.99, or if you go on Scribe and you have a subscription, you can get the download of the PDF there. But if you guys want to reach out to me and get the PDF, I will be glad to give it to you guys. So thank you guys for all being here. Also, happy 8/8 Lions Portal. That was yesterday. Tonight's a full moon in Aquarius. So we talk all things astrology, metaphysical, UCC, trust, universal, commerce law, contract law, God's law, source energy, universal law on this page and on this call. So thank you guys for all being here and wanting to expand your consciousness. Me and my twin and my team, Minister and Jay, we all are creating this space for you guys to expand your consciousness. My twin, Tammy, she does credit repair and credit relief. And her name is at Coach Tammy on Instagram. She has a really good deal going on in her school right now. It's $88 for a limited time only. So get in while the seats are hot. And she has a whole bunch of gems. She has a whole bunch of letters, love notices to put these corporations on notice, right? Because it's all about putting them on notice and letting them know you know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, then you can't govern yourself accordingly. And this is what this call is going to be about, for you to be the one to execute your trust. So I want to share my screen with you guys and get started and dive deep into this book and my notes that I took. So let me get this started for you guys. All right, this is called Be the One to Execute Your Trust by David Robinson. And there is always a remedy. We create our own remedy. No one can do it for us. Congress shall make no law abridging the right of the people to petition the government for redress or grievances. And this is our First Amendment right to the Constitution of the United States of America. So you guys have to understand that you guys are the remedy. Your process is the remedy. My process is not your remedy. My twin's process is not my remedy or your remedy. You are your own remedy. Whatever works for you will work only for you. It will not work for the same for me because I don't have the same issues or problems as you do, as you don't have the same issues and problems as I do. And when you start to tap into your subconscious mind, you will start to understand that you are the creator, you are the executor of your thoughts. You can absorb whatever thoughts you want. You can absorb the negative thoughts or you can absorb the positive thoughts. So this is learning how to become conscious about your subconscious and your unconscious, because your unconscious is what you don't know. Your subconscious is what maneuvers your whole day. Your 95% of your thoughts are from yesterday's thoughts. And your conscious mind is what you do know to be so, right? So you are the remedy. Your process is going to be the remedy. But you have to know yourself first. You have to know who you are. You have to know what position you're playing. Are you playing the debtor? Are you playing the creditor? If you're playing the debtor, then you are paying bills, right? So the people's credit, we are the secured party creditors of the United States. Congress shall have power to borrow money on the credit of the people of the United States. And this is Section 8, Clause 2 of the Constitution for the United States. We are already the secured party creditor. Our signature gives that authority. Our social security number gives that authority, right? And this is like a great book. Just go through like all of the chapters, and you will just reading the chapters, you'll understand like this book is definitely for you to want to have in your toolbox. So contracts make the law. No state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contracts. Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the United States. Contracts make the law. The only way an act of government can be binding on us is if we contract with the government through that act. And Congress makes the law. Everything that is going on in the United States today is based on the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. We are communists, whether you know it or not, and you must change it in order to become free. Every member of the world has the power of attorney over himself or herself. You have power of attorney over your legal person. He is competent to handle his own affairs. It is all contracts. You don't owe them any money unless you contract with them to pay it. No contract, no obligation to perform. And he goes on explaining how his friend got a ticket and how he put no contract, no contest, and he put offer refused, and he mailed it into the court. And if he receives a correspondence from the court, he will write them back and demand that they prove their claim in writing with law references. This handling of the ticket was wrong. They can't prove that he was conducting commerce at the time of the traffic stop. Our word trumps theirs no matter what is said. If you are on the side of the road and you get pulled over by the cops, that you are in court right then and there. You're going to start changing your perspective of the definition of these words. Court is a piece of paper. It's four corners. And that's why they say the four corners of the world, right? That's another story about how the world is and has been created, right? But they only deal on paper. Corporations are only a piece of paper. They only exist on paper. That's why they mail you paper in order to correspond with you. That's why when you're dealing with a cop on the side of the road, he gives you a piece of paper to contract with him. You unknowingly and under duress and threat of arrest sign these with your signature, with your autograph, unknowingly. And you are now in contract with them. You are in court on the side of the road every single time you interact with a police officer who is stopping you asking for your identification, right? So when you start to learn who you are in these situations, your word trumps theirs no matter what, because God gave you the authority to say so and do so and be so. So when you start learning the etymology of these words, and that contract just means something is to be binded by. You are binded by this contract because you gave them authority. They're only doing their job. The system is not crooked. The system is not bad. The system, it's not good for the people, right? But the system is doing what the system does. And the system is doing what the system does best, which is taking from the people. The system was put there. We can go back in history and we can study the laws and study where and why this all happened. And we are all under the Roman law. We are all under the Vatican law in commerce, right? So you want to study commerce law, you want to study contract law, trust law. How long does a contract take to rescind? And in this book, it explains all of this. And it says, as long as you know who you are and what we are in the law, we cannot lose. If they send me anything in the mail, I will return it, offer refused, within 3 days, as per contract law. You have 3 days to refuse any contract offer of any kind. Know who and what you are in the law, so that you will know how to handle any situation they present to you. to remove contracts that you know nothing about, rebut their presumption, their silent presumptions by declaring your true status in the law, and the truth shall set you free. John 8:32. It all begins with knowing who you are. Names are irrelevant. I can never pronounce that word. Irrelevant. See, it's one of those tongue twisters. It's the role you play in their game that counts. So if you claim that you are the citizen of the United States Corporation, therefore I am not a citizen of the United States Corporation, therefore I'm not an employee of the United States Incorporated, who is subject to the statutes and regulations defined in the IRS code, which apply only to US contract employees. I am man. I was created by God with dominion. The created is subject to the creator and nothing else. So your first capital letter, John Doe, was named by your parents. All capital letter, John Doe, was named by the state. John Doe, named by your parents, is lawful name. John Doe in all caps is your legal name, your street name. This is your straw man. This is also a transmitting utility. Understand that transmitting utility, your straw man is what you use to do business in commerce. You use your straw man, your all capital name, for commerce. So when we say get out of this matrix, we are getting out of their matrix system, and we are creating our own matrix system. We're not creating it. It's already been here. It's been here. Nothing new under the sun, right? So now we are becoming aware that our all caps name is a transmitting utility, and that you can use your name and do business as that name, but you are the lawful legal owner of your name. And God has given dominion over the land, over your name, over your property, over your body, over your mind, your thoughts, your spirit. And when you start to learn all of this stuff and break down everything, this will all make sense to you. The dots will connect, the puzzle pieces will come together, and you will now know how to govern and move in this matrix system accordingly, right? So John's all capital legal name is on record of live birth, on which is on the birth certificate is based on. Nobody knows where it actually is. It's a legal fiction. You have to have a name, but you don't care what that name is calling you by. I am man or woman, as the gender may be. There are two kinds of law, God's law and man's law, natural law and contract law. John Doe is a presumption of man's law. A straw man or a man of straw is its bait. They have to get you to join their game to be under their law. If you don't want to play their game, you don't have to by their rules. I am man, and I was created by God with dominion. And logic is irrelevant in court.
Irrelevant.
Say it, Tammy.
Irrelevant.
What she said. Courts deal in presumptions which until rebutted stand. Remove their presumptions by rebutting their contract. They really don't exist. It all comes down to intent. No criminal intent, no crime. It's a matter of liability. Who's assuming the liability for the claim that you are being made? Contracts form the law. So where is the contract? Who's compelling me to perform in a contract? Provide the evidence that his contract exists. Provide the contract that I'm being compelled to perform. It's that all in capitalized name. Anything after man is a legal construct. It is in fact. It is a fact. Don't you want the legal person, all capital letters, John Doe, or do you want the lawful man, John Doe? There's a difference between these two names, these two persons. Separate the names, for these are two of us. Which capacity do you want to be in? Which role do you want to play? The role of the man or the legal fiction, the presumption? Tell me what role you want me to play, and I will or I won't. It's my choice. So when you start to know that you can separate yourself from these names, now this is, we are in a bunch of groups, and a lot of people are here from Minister's group, and Minister does hypnotherapy, and his hypnotherapy sessions have helped me understand these positions. There's a beneficiary position, trustee position, executor position, and you can wear these hats accordingly. You could be the grantor, you could be the trustee, you could be the beneficiary. Remember, a grantor creates, a trustee manages, and a beneficiary benefits. So until you get control of your subconscious state, are you being trustee? Are you managing your thoughts? Or are you benefiting from your thoughts? Or are you creating your thoughts? You have to control your subconscious state first in order to comprehend this knowledge, or this knowledge will not be understandable. I read this stuff 2 years ago and it was all mumbo jumbo to me because I didn't have my subconscious mind, my subconscious state established. It was, I just wanted to know this stuff and how do I move accordingly, right? Because we all want to have remedy. And once I started doing the hypnotherapy sessions with Minister, I had a lot more aha moments, and I had a lot more clarity on positions and what positions they see me as. They see me as a debtor because I claimed to be the debtor. I said in court, yes, I am the all caps name. I reside in your jurisdiction. Now I am abided by the rules of their regulations, right? The rules and regulations. So you do have a choice to be the debtor, the creditor, the beneficiary, the creator, the grantor, and the trustee. And the trustee manages the paperwork and signs and everything. And they have us all on presumptions, right? They all work on presumptions and assumptions. They assume you know the law. They presume you know the law, right? So the state operates on presumptions. The court operates on presumptions. What binds me to these presumptions? Where's the contract? What obligation in the contract am I allegedly bound to perform? Did I agree to it? Was the contract valid? Did I sign the contract with my wet ink? And it's all about your wet ink signature, right? Can they prove that you signed this contract with your wet ink signature? Because your signature is what brings these pieces of paper alive. You give power to these paper with your wet ink signature, right? And statutory laws are public servant codes for society slaves, for employed agents, for government. We're all presumed to be employees and servants of the state until we object. We are servants of God, students of the earth, changed with earth's cultivation and care. You can tell them you know who you are. Your word is your bond. And that is when you hold all the power because you know who you are. I was in a situation once where I had to deal with the sheriff, and I didn't have a piece of paper there. I didn't have my law books there. I didn't have my mentor, minister there, or anybody else there to help me. I had my mouth, and my words got me out of the situation because I knew the law. I knew who I was in that moment. And I was a beneficiary. And I benefited from this knowledge, from learning this knowledge. And let's say they don't bother us anymore because I knew who we were. I knew who I was. I knew the situation. I knew the law. And I took it off of the top of my head. I didn't know this sheriff was coming. I didn't know this was all happening. But since this did happen, I learned in that moment, having this experience, I gained wisdom from this situation. And I learned that no piece of paper is going to save me. It's going to be my words. What am I speaking? And that's jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means speech, and juris means law. Diction means words or speech. So whatever law, words, whatever you speak, whatever law you speak will be your jurisdiction. If you tell the judge you have no jurisdiction over me, they have to prove that they have jurisdiction over you. And they never can prove jurisdiction over you. And we'll go on in this book, it talks about the subject matter jurisdiction. And I'll share a little bit more about that. But when you start to learn these words and you start to learn who you are in this position, you're going to be able to govern yourself accordingly. And in that situation I was in with the sheriff, I was able to govern myself accordingly because I knew who I was. I knew the law. And I didn't know statutes and codes. I didn't know their rules and regulations. I knew God's law and I knew where I stood. God gave me dominion. And nobody is able to stop me in my movement, restrict my movement, because that is against God's law. Start studying universal law, God's law, karmic laws, cause and effect, the laws of assumption, the laws of movement. The laws of cause and effect is karma. What you cause will affect you. What are you creating? What are you causing? Are you creating more turmoil? Are you creating more joy? And this goes with yourself because that's your first trust agreement. You will never be able to maintain a trust if you cannot gain your trust. And that's trusting your thoughts, trusting what you read, trusting what you're absorbing. Is it beneficial for you? Is it beneficial for your family? Is it beneficial for the community? Is it beneficial for humanity? So that's your first trust that you are setting up. God gave us this trust to set up. So you are able to govern yourself accordingly now knowing this. You're not a victim anymore. We are done playing victims. We know who we are. And in the definition of trust, it is a fiduciary relationship regarding property, subjecting the person with title to the property to equitable duties to manage the property for another's benefit. The confidence placed in a trustee, together with the trustee's obligations towards the property for the benefit of the beneficiary. A trust arises out of manifestation of an intent to create it. And that's in Black's Law Dictionary. Black's Law gives us all the definitions. And you dive deep into Black's Law Dictionary, you will start to learn a lot of these words. And hence the Declaration of Independence of 1776 and 2012. A trust involves three elements: the trustee, the beneficiary, and trust property. Trust property is the corpus, which is the body of the trust. And in the wide sense, a trust exists when property is to be held and administered by one person on behalf of another person according to the established terms, or for some purpose other than the person's own benefit. In the narrow sense, a trust exists when the creator of the trust hands over or is bound to hand over the control of an asset which is to be administered by another person, the trustee, the administrator in this capacity as such, for the benefit of some person other than the trustee, the beneficiary, or for some other impersonal purpose. And this is all, the Holy Trinity is trust law. I love this chapter because it talks about, you're going to see more about how the system works. And it's all about Trinity. It's all about three: the Holy Father, Spirit, and Son, right? So God's law entails a three-party contract between our Father God, who operates through his Spirit, the Holy Ghost, for the benefit of his Son, Jesus Christ, the earthly grantor of the rights of all mankind. Corporate law entails a three-party contract between the directors who direct their employees for the benefit of the stockholders. Trust law entails a three-party contract between the executor who directs the trustees for the benefit of the beneficiary. The actions are the same, only the word definitions change for each case. And then picture a triangle, right? Our Father is the executor, right? Which is the chief executor officer. And it goes down this way to the power. God's Spirit, the Holy Ghost, which is the trustee, through God, God's Son, Jesus Christ, is the beneficiary, right? So this is how the triangle works. Power flows clockwise from our Father God, who operates with his Spirit to benefit the Holy Son. And the Bible is God's last will and testament. The testament is something left by a testor and a will. There are three parties to a testament: a will, the executor, the beneficiary, and the trustee, who hold and manages the property in trust for the beneficiary. And it goes on and tells you about how the trustee benefits for the beneficiaries. And as a beneficiary, you have the lawful right to tell the trustees that they are misdirecting your benefit, right? Because what we are in now, the courts are the trustees, or they have us as trustees, and they are the executors, and the state is the beneficiary. So we want to switch all these positions around because you are now becoming cognitive of who you are. You're remembering who you are, and we all have that feeling inside of us that we know something is off, that we known our whole lives. I know some people I've connected to on here have told me through their whole lives that they've known something is off, and that they know that there's a rabbit hole that they have to go down in order to absorb this knowledge. And this is how I was able to absorb this knowledge. I went down a lot of rabbit holes to get this information and to present it to you guys because I was done gatekeeping this knowledge. And I wanted to, have something for my children to look upon. And I wanted to leave a legacy for my children's 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 and humanity, right? I created this investing possibility for the community, for my family. And I brought you guys along on this journey. And I love that you guys are all here, you know, now in this moment right now, and also watching on the replay. So I thank you guys for being here. You guys are actually going to be transforming your legacy. You're going to be leaving a legacy for your family and for humanity, whether you know it or not. You know, I'm programming you with codes right now. And I know that you guys are going to receive these codes, and I know that you guys are going to do benefit with these codes, right? So trust law applied. According to trust law, the executor and the beneficiary cannot be a trustee, and a trustee cannot be an executor or the beneficiary. The trustee must follow the terms of the trust. The executor and beneficiary establishes the terms of the trust. The executor gives directives to the trustee according to the terms of the trust for the benefit of the beneficiaries. Government employees are our public servants who are supposed to be the trustees of the public trust, but they are not. They hold and manage all public property for the benefit of the state instead of the benefit of the people, which are you and me. In court, they send you to jail. It's because you were seen as a trustee who had been ordered to do something for the beneficiary that you did not do. You can't be a trustee and a beneficiary at the same time. Somebody else was supposed to be get a benefit that they did not get because of what you did not do. When you walk into court, you are presumed by the court to be the trustee of your strawman estate. The judge is acting as the executor because he is one in power who executes the alleged directives of the trust. It's all trust law. It's all taxing. It's all banking. It's all accounting. The executor gives the orders and the beneficiary is presumed to be the state. You are presumed to be the trustee who takes on orders from the state through the judge and must be obedient to those orders and the state. The executor is the person in power, the person in charge. Remember I said earlier that that the beneficiary can say that the trustees are not directing proper benefits to the beneficiary. So since they switched the roles, right? They hoodwinked us. They switched the roles, and now you're learning that we have the power to do exactly what they're doing. So now you know. So when you know better, you could do better, right? So that's how their system works, right? So the de facto way, this is the judge, this is the power side, goes to the all caps, which is the trustee, and the state benefits, right? This is the de facto way. We're going back to the de jure way. And this is all based on presumption and assumption. And you can go ahead and read on more. If you guys want to get the PDF file, I'll give it to you guys, and you guys can read all the fun stuff that they talk about in this book. And this is the de jure way, right? John, the all caps, is the executor. The state will be the trustee, and you will be the beneficiary. The living man and woman will be the beneficiary, right? And now you know that you could tell the trustees, the state, that they're not doing their job because the all caps name that you now claim, right? There's steps that we're going to show you guys how to claim your name. I'm creating a guide with my twin and my team, and we are going to have a step-by-step guide on how to claim your estate, how to claim your all caps name estate, right? So you're going to learn these steps on how to switch these positions and how to claim your all caps name, because there is a process to claim your all caps name where you become the sole proprietor of your estate, right? It's called an estate. What is your estate, right? What is your subconscious estate, right? What are you feeding into? Knowledge, wisdom, facts, or drama, gossip, bullshit, right? So God gave you a choice. God gave you free will. You can choose either which one, right? So you can see how the power flows, right? So the sheriff is the highest authority in the county. It is his sworn duty to make sure that the state's trustees do their jobs as they are ordered by the constituents to do. The sheriff should hold the trustees of your trust estate to account. If they don't do what you order them to do, they are in breach of trust because you are the executor of the trust estate. You are the one to execute your trust. Contracts make the law. Trust law is the highest law there is. Trust law equals God law equals the Trinity. They cannot violate trust law. So we rebut their presumptions with the truth. Remember, they have to, when you rebut their presumptions with truth, they have to rebut your truth, but they cannot. So that's how cases get dismissed. That's how things get discharged. You're an electric magnetic being. That's why they charge us and put us in a cell, because they harvest your blood, sweat, and your equity, right? It's all about equity. And because you have an equitable interest in your all caps name. And when you come in with clean hands, you can do equity. And this is what we're doing. We're teaching you guys how to clean up your credit. We're teaching you how to clean up your name so you can govern yourself accordingly. So you have an option to get cash or credits, Federal Reserve notes or credits. Once you stand in this square, once you stand in this position with this hat on, right? And you can go on and read about how, in trust law and corporate law, how the executor hires and appoints the trustees to carry out the orders for the beneficiary. Same thing in corporate law. The director hires and appoints the employees to carry out the directions according to the charter of the corporation for the benefit of the stockholders of the corporation. And what we have forgotten or have never been taught in civil law, we the people as executors elect and appoint our government officials, our trustees, to carry out our orders according to the Constitution of the United States and the states, the United States of America and the states. This is your three-party trust estate. John, the all caps name, is the executor. Trustees are the public trustees. And John, lowercase name, capital lowercase, is the shareholder beneficiary. And this is what it means by separating public from private. You cannot do public trust with private trust, and you can't do private trust with public trust. Your public trust is just that, a public trust. Your private trust is just that. That's your private trust, right? And that's the trust that you will create, an irrevocable, revocable living trust. Your ecclesiastical trust, your emissary trust, right? Those are private trusts. Your 508c1 trusts are private. Your other trust, your public trust, you move that and use that in commerce, and you can do business in those trusts, right? You're going to set your trust threads, your corpus of your trust, your instructions of your trust in your trust indenture. And it's not difficult to understand trust. Trusts are simply corporations in disguise. Your earthly estate is a trust. God made you the CEO, chief executive officer of your trust estate, whether you know it or not. Your public power flows clockwise to the straw man, the executor of your trust estate, through the public employees, the administrative trustees of your trust estate, back to you, the shareholder beneficiary of your trust estate. The government employees should be the trustees of your trust estate, transmuting power to you, the beneficiary of the trust estate, from the straw man. Your government employees are supposed to administer your trust estate according to God's plan for the benefit as the beneficiary of God's will, the New Testament word of God, expressed in the Declaration of Independence of 1776 and the Constitution of the United States of America of 1787 and 91. But the federal government made a switcheroo, a bait and switch, by reversing the roles, by enticing you to accept the unilateral contracts with them without your knowledge or consent. A unilateral contract is where party A makes a conditional offer to party B to do something if B should accept the offer. Where A says to B, if you will do such and such, I will do this. A makes a conditional offer but asks for nothing in return except for that you meet the conditions. A makes an offer seeking a unilateral contract with B in return. B can choose to accept this offer by simply meeting the condition that is offered. B must accept the offer by performing the conditional act. No promise is asked for, only performance of the act. At no point does B need to perform. If B chooses not to respond and does nothing, then no contract is made. But if B meets the conditions of the offer, the agreement is confirmed and both parties are now bound by the contract terms. When we accept a privilege or benefit offered by the government, we join the government and become bound to their statutes and laws. Each of us unknowingly made the trustee of a trust that the federal government established in our name when we were born and granted it to itself without our knowledge or consent. So this is how it goes. The public servants are the executors. Your all caps name is the public trustee, and the state, which is the New World beneficiary, they are the beneficiary, the state benefit. So this is how they have us in their system, in their matrix system, right? So however, there is a way to separate from them to become free. Affirm the truth of your status and come out from among them and be separate. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Rebut their presumptions and be free. You should be the one to execute your trust. You should be the executor, grantor, shareholder, administrator, beneficiary of your trust estate. Your government servants should be the trustees who have to take orders from you and be in obedience to you, the real executor of your trust. In other words, the role of the trustee in your trust was changed by the government servants, from your government servants to you. And the role of the beneficiary in your trust was changed from you to the government servants and the state for the benefit of the state without your knowledge and consent. So the federal government, usurped your role as an executor, administrator, director, shareholder, and beneficiary of your estate. Your trust estate made you the trustee of your trust estate, who must take orders from the state instead of from God. What is the significance of this bait and switch, you may ask? Well, it's simply this. Instead of you being the beneficiary of your trust estate, the state made your government servants in the state the beneficiaries of your trust estates instead. As the presumed trustee of the public trust, you have been forced to follow the orders of the presumed executor of the public trust and to think that you are the servant of the state instead of them until you rebut their presumptive claim. It's all about their presumptions. They are in assumption. They only make assumptions. Their claims are all on assumptions. They assume you don't know the law. That's how they win, right? That's how they jail people. That's how they get people to go to prison. You literally sign your charges. You literally sign your prison statement. You literally sign for probation until you rebut their presumptions, right? And you got to know yourself first. You got to know thyself. And the road to freedom. The strawman is a transmitting utility that allows you to operate in commerce with a license to conduct your commercial affairs. So this is what I was saying earlier. This is your transmitting utility. You're going to use your straw man's name that was created for you in trust. Because when you were born, if you're born before 1975, after 1975, you were insured for 2 million and you were bonded for 1 million. And that was right at your birth certificate signature when your parents signed your signature. So they have capitalized on the name. They have made investments. They have fractionalized banking. They have everything on the back end that you are unknowingly about. They have made a lot of money. They have made a lot of securities and bonds underneath your name. Corporations buy these bonds and they invest in these bonds and they benefit from our lack of knowledge, right? And only ignorant get taxed. You only get taxed for something you rent. That's why they rent you for, or they tax you for your car, they tax you for your mortgage, they tax you for your food, because you are borrowing this from the government. You are asking the government for privileges. So only privileged people get taxed, right? So when you know yourself, you know who you are, you become tax exempt. You step out of their jurisdiction. You don't play by their rules. You don't play by their regulations. You don't play by their guidelines. You play by God's rules. You play by God's laws, God's regulations, source code energy, right? Those are the laws that you now are governing yourself by, right? And all crimes are commercial, and then they are regulated by commercial courts. Commercial crimes are murder, stealing, dealing in illegal drugs, prostitution, practicing law, or making a legal determination without the permission or consent by assent of any party to a contract. All commerce is ruled by contracts. All courts, which are tribunals, are ruled by contracts. Absent a contract, the court, tribunal, or unwillingly proceed to write a contract under cause, case number such and such. Will the defendant rise? What is your name? Stating your name is the signature of your contract. How do you plead? Making a plea is giving the court subject matter jurisdiction, which becomes part of the consideration for the contract. All arguments compromise the offer of the contract, and the judgment initiates the acceptance of the contract by you. The court takes a complaint, turns it into a charge against the straw man, tries him or her on the charge, and then the judgment is rendered, which is a civil action, a claim, which must then be accepted by the living soul to make it valid. Your acceptance makes the contract. When you say you are this all caps name, you literally sign a contract. There's a difference between implied and express contract. An implied contract was me telling my twin, hey, we're going to have a Zoom call at 2 o'clock. Are you going to jump on? I gave her a conditional offer. She said, yes, I'm going to jump on, but I'm maybe a little bit late. I'll be there at 2:05. I accepted that offer. These are all, we do trust. We do trust with ourselves. We do trust with other people just by implied trust, right? Express trust is what you write down, what you say you're going to do. Your trust is going to be written down in your own handwriting, right? So when you start to learn how to put together a trust and how to do a last will and testament, you will start to understand the power of the pen, the power of the sword, the power of your word, right? Because your word is your bond, and God gave you dominion over your words and your thoughts in this world, right? Stop giving away your power. Stop letting them administer your estate. Stop letting them keep you in fear. Every time somebody gets a bill, they're in fear that they may not be able to pay it. But anything on a contract that is in a square box is invalid. Anything that is in a square box is usually what you owe, right? And it's always in a positive number on that bill, right? It's never a negative, because when you owe something, it's a negative. When you don't owe something, it's a positive. So they're literally, a bill of exchange is literally a negotiable instrument. That is your security interest. But us unknowingly and ignorantly give them our blood, sweat, and equity that we just finished working a 9 to 5 and collected Federal Reserve notes, money, right? That isn't even backed by gold. And we cash our checks when we pay our bills. So you just gave away your equity. You just gave away your security interest, not knowing. You're literally telling the government and these corporations, I don't know what to do with my money. You do with what you will with it, right? And they're like, sure, no problem. We're going to go make money off of this, of your ignorance. And they trade it 9 times, right? Because they do numbers by the power of 9, right? Because 9 is a powerful number. And what they do is they go and trade it 9 times. For every $1, they trade 9 times. So they make way more money on the back end because of our ignorance, instead of us knowing what to do with these Federal Reserve notes, right? So when you plead, you are making a plea to the government, and they give you this. You are giving over your subject matter jurisdiction. You're telling them that that you want them to tell them, you want them to tell you what you need to do. And when you go into court and they sentence you to 30 years, the judge then asks you, do you think, and your lawyer sitting there telling you in your ear, like, yes, be nice to the judge, be nice to the judge, right? Because the lawyer actually works for the Bar Association, which also the judge is part of, which also the state is pays them, right? So there's that conflict of interest right there. Your lawyer and your judge all sleep in the same bed, right? So there's a conflict of interest there, and that's truth and fact. And you can put a motion and say that they have no jurisdiction over you, that they have no subject matter jurisdiction over you, right? So when you know how to word things and know how to use your words will get you out of this. Your thoughts that you tell yourself every day will get you out of this, but you have to know yourself. I can't have my twin there in my ear giving me definitions of what I think I know I should say, right? I got to sit there and actually absorb this knowledge and know this knowledge for myself in order to govern myself accordingly, because they will tell you no. They will call you crazy. They will try to hold you in contempt of court. If you stand on your square with your proper hat, they can't touch you, because they will be in breach of trust, because this is all about trusting. This is all about trust. This is all about banking and accounting. They put us on a ledger, right? Start learning what a ledger is, right? It looks just like a cross, right? A ledger looks just like a cross. You got assets and liabilities on your cross, right? And who died and 3 days later rose, right? Takes 3 days to rescind the contract, right? That's when Jesus became alive and knew who he was. Now he was separated from his name. The stories in the Bible are all parables, they're all allegories, they're all stories for us to decode, for us to break down. They speak in parables, right? Because that's how we are able to decode this reality. We break down, we decode these words, we decode the parables, and now it makes sense. That's why it takes 3 days for your check to clear. When you go and take it to the bank and you cash it, it takes 3 days for your check to be cleared. Jesus died 3 days later, he was risen and he was alive, right? So go ahead and read all of this in the book. And then another response is to reject the contract under the truth in lending within 72 hours. And when the contracts concern mortgage under regulation Z and truth in lending. So when you're dealing with the mortgages and the Truth in Lending Act, regulation Z is what you want to study and start learning about. Start reading what the Truth in Lending Act is, right? You have 72 hours to rescind these contracts. You have that capability, you have that authority. And always remember, everything is in commerce and ruled by contracts, right? Commerce and contracts. That's all that there is. Study commerce law, study contract law. Things will start to make sense to you. All of this will start to make sense to you, right? And corporations and contracts. This is what I started saying too. No more, no more. And it's time to understand what's really going on and to open your eyes and take our country back. And the best way to do this is to hit them where it hurts, in their financial statements. Do you guys know what a financial statement is? Do you know what a P&L is? Do you know what a ledger is? Do you know what liabilities are? Do you know what debts are? Debts and liabilities are the same. Credit is private. Public is debt. Start to learn what these things are. Start learning the definitions of these words so you know how to set up your trust, how to set up your legacy, how to set up your last will and testament, right? Because what you say goes, right? And what is the most effective way to make others change? Change your behavior towards them. If you want a child to stop being mean, you simply tell that child that until he plays nice, you won't play with him anymore. If that child needs you, he will quickly change his ways. So we tell the police department, the county sheriff's office, states, and the feds that they aren't playing by the rules of the full disclosure. So we won't play with them anymore. They're not cute little children. They're all giant corporations that have nothing to do with lawful government. They have nothing to do with lawful government anymore, and that's the point. And America hasn't been a sovereign nation with lawful government in more than a century. Some might argue that there has never been a lawful government where man is just independent of all laws, except laws prescribed by nature. Man is not bound by an institution formed by his fellow man without his consent. And the key phrase here is without his consent. You must voluntarily give your consent to enter into any contract with these corporations. The state declares that you are a state, and this is true. But what is the state? The state of Maine is a sub corporation of the United States, which is a corporation operating in commerce for profit instead of a welfare for the people. Now, some may ask, so what if they operate as a corporation? Well, if they operate as a non-for-profit corporation and the stockholders were we the people, then that might be okay. But the fact remains that every municipal, school district, public works, state or federal agency, and the United States is a corporation operating for profit. And you and I are not the stockholders. These corporations are privately held companies that operate for profit. Think about this for a minute. The entity we call government is actually a corporation, a foreign corporation that is not owned by the American people. Who do the corporations responsible to the people? Who makes the corporations responsible for the people? Do they watch themselves and never harm anyone? No. We have to sue XYZ company because they knew that their tires were causing hundreds of deaths. But XYZ company didn't want to take responsibility because the bottom line was more important than the human life. Once a system went into corporate status, it ceased to be a government. Prior to the system becoming a corporation, no one ever had to register to vote. Now they claim that everyone must be registered. This is not true. Try it sometime. Go down and vote in your local election in which you are inhabitant of in that area. You are not registered to vote. Tell them that it is your right to vote and that you don't have to be registered. Most likely you'll be allowed to vote, but they may not be very friendly towards you. You may be asking, doesn't registered simply mean signed up? Well, not quite. When you register yourself, you record formally and exactly in a list or the like. Sounds innocent enough now. Now, whom do you register with? The registrar? Or the registrar is an officer who has custody of and is in charge of maintaining a registry or register. And then they go on to some examples. And then what really is a register? Generally, a registry applies to vessels in foreign commerce, whereas enrollment refers to coast-wise navigation. So register, the word register, when you break it down in Latin, means regis means king, crown. When you register, you are abandoning your God-given rights for privileges. So when you register your car, you're asking to rent it. When you register for a mortgage, you're asking to rent it. That's why you are being charged tax. That's why you are being taxed on property tax, land tax, mortgage, bills, sales tax. When you go to the grocery store, you are being taxed for this because you're telling the government that you need privileges and they are giving it to you. But unbeknownst to us and unknowingly to us, we agree, right? But now you can stand up and disagree and tell them that you want all your credits from your all caps name put in your Treasury Direct account. And when you start to learn how to set yourself up, you're going to start benefiting as a beneficiary, and you're going to start creating your trusts. You're going to start creating your last will and testament, right? Anything that you create, you are responsible for. Just like when you create a plant, you're responsible for that plant of letting it nourish and grow, and you benefit from it, right? When you plant herbs, you want to cook with them, right? You're going to be the beneficiary of taking care of that plant, right? When you create a trust, you are responsible for that trust. When you create an LLC, you are responsible for that corporation. When you create a child, you are responsible for that child. So start knowing that you are responsible for these trusts and that you have the capability of being the beneficiary. And beneficiaries benefit. And they tell the trustees that the executor isn't doing their part. Because that's what a beneficiary's job is, to make sure that they benefit from this trust that was set up, right? And we had a trust set up, our SQV trust set up when we were born, right? So, and this goes on about how they were registered and how a vessel is a fiction, just as a corporation is a fiction. The two fictions are now capable of mutually transacting business. This all ties into the flag law many of us have been studying. Many people for years said that we are now under maritime law and suggested that we study maritime admiralty law for court. When you start learning about the flag and the fringe around the flag, you're going to start creating your own crest, and that is going to be your family flag. I highly suggest do not create your trust crest, your legacy crest with AI, because it will be coded with AI codes. I highly suggest for you to hand draw your crest. I highly suggest, if you can't draw, to offer somebody else to make your crest, right? You can design it on using AI, but for you to actually put stamps and put it on paper and to put it on your ledger in your documents, I highly suggest you outsource somebody to draw it who can draw, who can trace it over. I'm in ministers community, and a whole bunch of people are excited because somebody shared their crest and it was hand drawn, and we were Angel shared it in the community, and a lot of the women and other men were like, oh, I'm going to create my trust, and I'm going to have my daughter draw it, I'm going to have my friend draw it, or I can draw and I can create it, because you are putting your essence in that crest. That is going to be your family crest, that is going to be your legacy crest, right? And this is the same as a flag, because you're going to put that crest on a flag, and it's all about flag. It's all about pirates and flags. Like when you see a ship come in, you see that they have a Japanese flag, right? So now you know that they are under Japan's jurisdiction, right? So that they abide by the rules and regulations of Japan, because that ship has the flag flown, right? We don't fly our flags because we don't know we can create, right? Because they have us so dumbed down with the chemtrails, the poisoning of the food, the indoctrination in the schools, the social media, the music. They have us all dumbed down. So start cleaning out what you consume. Don't consume garbage. Don't listen to garbage. Don't repeat garbage, right? What are you doing for yourself? How are you cleansing your vessel? How are you making your legacy? How are you leaving your legacy? Every word you speak, it ripples out. What vibration, what frequency are you giving off to Mother Nature, to Earth, right? And God's law trumps all of these laws. And it goes on talking about how the flag is, and then it also goes on to talking about when you go into a corporation, and I don't work at the corporation, but my twin works at a 500 corporation. Her rules and regulations and dress codes do not abide by me, because when she got hired by that company, she signed a manual for that company saying that she would dress in a certain way and she will be there from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. Me, on the other hand, I can go in there with my beach wear and my flip flops because those rules and regulations do not abide by me. I didn't sign their handbook, but doesn't mean that I can't go into the establishment and go pick up my sister for lunch, right? So it goes on and explains an analogy like that. And the United States corporate citizens are subject to all the codes, rules, and regulations of the company. If you claim national citizenship, remember that America, our state, or your state is the nation to claim, not the United States corporation. Personally, this writer is an inhabitant of Maine, and my citizenship is not of this earth. The bottom line is that when we are dealing with corporations, we are dealing with contracts. Just just as it will explain it up more, but it just goes on and talks about how they don't have jurisdiction over him when he enters the company. And the good news is that all contracts can be accepted or rejected within 72-hour period under the Truth in Lending Act. You can reject any offer to contract. This includes rescinding contracts that you have accepted and then have, for whatever reason, changed your mind about accepting it. And it goes on and it tells you about how you can reject these these contracts, even though you didn't know about that you were in a contract. You can rebut their presumption and assumption. And for those of you that still believe that we support our government through taxation, I simply point to the Ronald Reagan's Grace Commission report of 1984. That's so funny. My daughter's name is Reagan Grace, and I just now caught that. 100% of what is collected is absorbed solely by interest on the federal debt and by federal transfer payments. In other words, all individual income tax revenue are gone before one nickel is spent on the services taxpayers expect from government. Meaning our taxpayers does not go to the road. Our tax money does not go to government. It goes to government pockets. It goes to help keeping us dumbed down. The tax dollars go to their pockets. The tax dollars go to the chemtrails, the programs that keep us dumbed down, the indoctrination. It goes into the big elites pockets, right? We all know who rules the world in their worlds, right? In their commerce worlds, right? No name spoken here, but we all know. And now we know that we don't need to pay taxes, that we are tax exempt. We now know that we can create a contract. We now know that we can reject their contracts. And there's a due process. You got to learn the due process. And you can write with your own handwriting in red pen, I do not consent, I do not contract, return to sender. Remember, your piece of mail is your evidence. How did you send it? Do you have it certified mail? Where's your tracking number, right? You are in charge of all your pieces of paper. You are in charge of all your signatures. You are in charge of your own accounting for your trust. Nobody else is going to do it for you, right? Unless you appoint an accountant, right? But there's shady accountants out there that have lined their own pockets, right? So you always want to know what's being used in your trust name, right? So, and if you guys didn't know what fraud means Federal Reserve Accounting Unit Denomination. And the debt what the corporate owners created out of nothing and lent it back to their subcorporations. It's not even real debt. If the big 500 company from our analogy came to you and said, hey, we need your help, I'm getting rid of our debt, you may feel mediocre of sympathy for that corporation, but would you pay their debts for them? No way. Then why are you paying the private companies artificial and fraudulent debt? Simply because they titled the corporations United States? The corporate government is nothing more than a pyramid scheme leeching off of the hardworking productive sector today. Back to our new motto, just say no more, no more. And all definitions are from Black Law's Dictionary, the 6th edition. And this goes on and talks about a contract story that was related in February of 2007. I'll just read this one because it was a good one. I was on my way to visit my mom in New Mexico. She had just had emergency surgery and needed someone to look after her. The doctors explained that they were heart complications, so I rushed to her side. I, unfortunately, am the queen of tickets. So now rushing to me equates to 5 miles over the posted limit. The last thing I wanted to do was prolong the trip by having a police officer pull me over. But a lesson was in the making, and sure enough, a Texas Highway Patrol had nothing better to do than harass me. He berated me into telling him why I was in a hurry. He proceeded to verify the story by calling my mother at the hospital, as if she didn't have enough to worry about. She almost lost her life that day before. And then he still writes me a ticket, and for 5 miles over, but for 10. So I write the judge a letter explaining why we don't have joinder. And I ask him to answer a few questions. Without knowing it, I rejected his offer to contract. I don't show up by the date allowed, so the nice judge writes me a letter of extension and gives me 2 more weeks to appear. I call him and ask him what the law he is using to prosecute the case. He doesn't even understand the question. So I say, is it Admiralty, Maritime, Common, Statutory, UCC, or what? To which he replies, it's anything I want it to be. Well, that narrows things down, doesn't it? That narrows it down, doesn't it? I then ask him if it is civil or criminal matter, and he says it's both. So now I don't even have a clue what law to study or order and to fight this, nor do I really understand what I'm being charged under. During this phone conversation, the judge tells me he isn't going to have time to go over all of this in person when I come down. I tell him that I am coming down to fight this and that he may want to have the county attorney help him look over the questions in my letter. He didn't take too kindly to that suggestion. He also said that he didn't even have a flag in his chambers, so not to worry about his jurisdiction. The day comes to appear to the judge's chambers to talk about the ticket. Wouldn't you know it, there was a tiny flag on the penholder on the judge's desk. Well, I'll be no flag, huh? There is also a county attorney that is also has to present before the judge will allow my husband and I into the chambers. I begin to holding my flag, handling the judge my 4-page letter, telling him that this is a special, not general appearance. The letter explains why the court and I don't have joinder. The next 20 minutes is a jurisdictional tug of war in which the judge and county attorney try to earn me into a plea, including the judge telling me that he is going to enter a plea for me, to which I respond with, Judge, you can't practice law from the bench. The county attorney finally knows I'm not going to give in, so he asks, young lady, do you have a driver's license? I said, yes, unfortunately I do. He then turns to the judge and says, Judge, she has appeared before you today and she has a driver's license. She has waived all of her rights. I waived all my rights? You know that light bulb that goes off over your head and the cartoon characters when they get a good idea? At that very moment, that same light bulb appeared over my head. I realized that it is all about contracts. Thinking quickly, I turned to the judge and asked him to remind the county attorney that I had reserved my rights on the face of the ticket and that I had made a special appearance under threat of imprisonment, which to no one waives my rights. The county attorney then asked the judge to grant a continuation that he could review my 4-page letter. The judge did so and told me to return a month later. I got home and recounted the story to a friend of mine. The friend said, oh, Anne, you just gave them jurisdiction. Sit down right now and write that judge and tell him you didn't agree to that continuance. I did just that and told the judge that I wasn't coming back on the date or any other date. This letter was a bit different. Instead of asking him to dismiss the ticket, to which sounds as if I'm granting jurisdiction, I demanded him to immediately cease and desist the proceeding under the color of law against the sovereign. Well, it has been 2 years, no warrants were ever issued for my arrest. Not only did I have 2 insider friends checking to see if warrants were put on me, but I was arrested. Most of the people are in December of 2001 on a contempt charge, and no outstanding warrants were on my record. The contempt charge is what I got for trying to help a friend in court. Don't go into their court if you can help it. I know that sometimes it is unavailable and even necessary. You are granting jurisdiction just by being there. If you don't know exactly how to challenge it, please don't go play their game on the field. They have the home court advantage and the guns to back it up when they feel like it. So the only reason why she got arrested and was put in jail was because she went to go help a friend out and went into their courthouse, which gave them jurisdiction over them. So that's the reason why she was arrested on this story. But there's two more stories in here that they go on and explain a lot more about, presumption and rebutting their presumption and knowing who you are, right? So the American Dream, March 9, 1933, a day that will go down in infamy, spoken by Franklin Roosevelt on a different day, but applying more surely to this day. For on this day, by the Trading with the Enemies Act and the declaration by Congress of the bankruptcy of the United States of corporation, the American dream became a nightmare instead. Slowly but surely, the bankers proceeded to take over the federal court system, the taking over of which now is complete. The federal rules must not be used in state courts. Congress never have lawfully assembled after Abraham Lincoln discovered Congress when the southern states walked out during debate over the Civil War, nor ever have been passing into positive law, is now seated outside of the Constitution, as also the court system is as well. This is the reason for registering to vote, for by registering. You were given the privilege of voting. And anyone who assigns
Crazy.
in, hi, Minister.
That is crazy.
Right? I know. And anyone who has signed in and votes on the federal election or in an election is voting as a corporate entity, a straw man, and is agreeing to the presumption that Congress has the authority to act from its foreign jurisdiction. And the entire court system is now ruled by and under the foreign jurisdiction flag, which has a gold bridge around the edge and a golden eagle or gold symbol around the flag. And some courts will make a mockery of the United States flag by positioning it in a vertically gathered way rather than set free. And the powers that be knew all commerce is ruled by the law of contracts, better known as the UCC, which is the Universal Commercial Code, which no contract, no case. And the schools begin to teach that anytime we sign a contract, it's signed, it's valid, and that these contracts must be fulfilled. This saying is true as long as the contract is between two living souls, where the contract is fully disclosed to both parties, and both parties agree to the terms by adding their signatures thereto. And that good credit, honesty, credibility is the most important thing that you have. And there's 5 parts to a contract: the offer, the acceptance, the consideration, the signature of all parties to the contract, and full disclosure and mutual understanding of the terms. See, this is where they get us hoodwinked, right? They don't give us full disclosure of what they're doing on the back end, which is accounting, which is turning our credits into their credits. They're not fully disclosing that they're making money off of the back end. And this is what they trade on the New York Stock Exchange, right? When you start to learn what the New York Stock Exchange is and what the tickers are and what that's actually your essence. That's actually we the people's essence that they're trading. Our blood, sweat, equity, tears, everything is being traded on the New York Stock Exchange, whether you want to believe it or not. The Creator created man with the unalienable rights to govern himself and to form a government. Man gave government the right to form government, meaning you as a living man and woman can go create a corporation. You can create a corporation, like Minister likes to say, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can go create in God's likeness, right? We have that power. We have that authority. We have that ability. And as man has no right to rule his creator, God, a government has no right to rule its creator, man. A government can only govern what it creates. Government created a legal fiction to rule by giving it a corporate name and assuming man to be a legal fiction and writing his name in all capital letters with the middle name only an initial or not at all. The proper name for a living soul is written in upper and lowercase letters, the first and middle name being the sovereign name and the last name being the family name. The real name for a living soul is I, me, my, or myself. Government is only a piece of paper, being a creation of mankind. As the government being a piece of paper, could only create a corporation, which in itself is not able to sign a lawful contract with a living soul. Remember, a corporation is only a piece of paper. A piece of paper cannot sign a contract, right? So all corporations must have someone to speak for them. And the government came up with a solution. The lawyer, the liar, the lawyer, liar, sorry, who has been appointed to speak for all corporations in the court which they have created. The government then devised an alternative to the lawful contract called the unilateral contract or the one signature contract. Remember, contract has to have two signatures on there. So what they did is they made the lawyer stand in for you and be able to sign on your behalf because you gave power of attorney to the lawyer. And now their signature is what they sign over you, right? So it's only a unilateral signature, meaning it's a null and void contract because you have to have two signatures, but you have to rebut that presumption, right? Or you can let it be and you can play their game accordingly to the way they play it, right? You have that free will and option. Their only deception of the unilateral contract says that they were probably written up by a lawyer or a group of lawyers to commit fraud with the intent to extort monies from the signers. The lawful problem with these contracts, aside from the fact that they only have the signature of one party to the contract, is that they have many hidden traps about which the party is unaware. In many cases, such a bank contract or signatures for checking purposes, the contract is never shown to the depositor. All contracts pertaining to the corporation signed by one party participant are fraud from the conception and are used to extort monies from the people. They cannot be enforced except with our permission or consent to assent. And from the beginning, the men have the right to contract with whomever or for whatever they choose so. The government then set the court system apart from the Constitution and its people, and then invites the people to contract with their court system under the foreign jurisdiction flag to allow them to settle their disputes. Since a person is to the government as a corporation, they treat any living soul who contracts with the court as a corporation as well, and as a legal person and a slave debtor, which cannot speak for itself, right? So the legal system is called the legal system, meaning that what they're doing is legal. Legal simply means without your consent. And legal is statutes and codes. Lawful is God's law. After they gain your consent, the system then becomes lawful with your consent for whatever they choose to do so with you. Law or lawfulness is a constitutional in subject matter, for no law can be enacted, or is supposed to be, without an enable clause from the Constitution of the state for the United States of America. The court does not have a contract with the party until the party gives the judge his or her name. Until that time, the judge is simply an actor in a black robe. Until then, the court is trying to get the party to contract with it under the foreign jurisdiction flag. Since judges do not file their oath of office in the courtroom, they act under administrative law as however they may choose. And it goes on and it tells you about the bar, that they are a bar, the judge is part of the bar, the lawyer is part of the bar. That's where the conflict of interest comes in. And you can go ahead and read this about the 7 demands for discovery to demand of all laws. They must produce a legislative act that it is implemented regulations that precede the cause, produce the legislative act that it's created the office of a lawyer, attorney, counselor, esquire, give me the address of his or her attorney or his or her office where I may go and get a license to practice law. Produce a copy of your oath of office as an officer of the court and where you filed it in the public record. And this is what you're going to be asking the judge to do, the lawyers to do. The 7 demands for discovery, and this is in your discovery in your what is it called? In your motion for discovery, you're going to ask these 7 demands of your lawyer, of your judge, right? And under the system of consent, a living soul never has to accept the ruling of the court, but they must object all of the times to the action being taken. All persons spending time in prison were sent there by their own words. An example, a judge, did you receive a fair trial? The answer, yes. The party is just being railroaded. Did the lawyer fight hard for you? The answer, yes. Did you feel that 12 years of prison is a reasonable sentence? Answer, yes. You just sentenced yourself to prison. This is aided and abetted by the party's lawyer, who just told him to be nice to the judge in the sentence phase of his trial and tells the party that the judge is probably going to give him a 12-year sentence instead of the 50-year sentence that he could have gotten, right? So you are giving the judge and the lawyers your essence, your power, and you signed your judgment. You signed your charges. You told them that you were okay with it because you did not rebut their presumption, right? And it is not law that a party is being tried for breaking, but by code or regulations or rules or breach of contract. The proper response is you have been sued is the redemption process or rejection. Returning their contract unsigned within 3 days is full accord with the truth in lending. Never let an attorney or lawyer send you any document without accepting it for value or rejecting and returning it without signature in 3 days in full accord with the truth in lending, right? Do not believe it. Do not contract with these third parties. Tell them to get lost. Tell them that they are fired. When you start to know who you are, when you start to stand in your power, you get to have the authority to tell them that you do not consent. And that to show them the proof, show them the discovery, show them their oath of office, right? And they probably won't. Most likely they won't, right? We now understand that government gains power of attorney over us when we are born and they take our birth certificate and make negotiable instruments out of them. We now know that through the Social Security Administration and the insurance of the SSN number that we are recorded as a trust and the living soul is made the trustee instead of the executor, and that you should be the straw man trust that they created. We now have our own power of attorney, in fact, and now we know which form to fill out for our taxes. Already we have one, right? And this is the redemption timeline. These have been so many papers written about the redemption process, and yet there seems to be a lack of understanding of the basic concepts. Redemption is the initial path taken by people who know that they are free but see no hope in the judicial system as it is practiced today. It is vitally important to understand how the people in the government turn our lives upside down and have made us believe that we are subject to them, then in reality that they are subject to us. Every being is part and partial, we the people. And these are some key points that they reference in the book about the years, about how we lost them back by gold money, that money is all debt notes, that the dollar is a debt note, it is a promise to pay, it is an IOU. The silver and gold were taken away from us. And the UCC became the supreme law of the America concerning the banking system. And the courts were pulled together in administrative, admiralty, civil, contract, or commerce corporation. And the act intent were brought together, thereby taking away any plea of innocent. You have now proved that there was no intent, guilty until proven innocent. Changing the often quoted phrase, you are innocent until proven guilty. And these are general instructions. Some of this information is simply personal opinion and preference, so please study the issues and make up your own mind about everything you choose to do so. Answer immediately your correspondence. Do not put your paperwork off. Never answer a third party, meaning a lawyer, a debt collector. Respond with a rejection of contract offer. I reject your offer of contract. Telling him or her of his heirs, agents, and assigns that they are third parties and to get out of your commercial affairs. You have that authority, right? I'm going to keep repeating that. You have that authority. Always send the rejection offer of contract back to the entity that sent it to you. Return to sender. Always remember that they are subject matter jurisdiction. The only thing involved in a controversy or court case is about jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction is the same as challenging the court's jurisdiction, but in a nicer way. Instead of telling the judge that the court doesn't have jurisdiction over you, you're telling the court that they don't have jurisdiction over the subject matter to hear the case. This gives them out. The subject matter subject matter jurisdiction is over you, the living person. And that is why they never have it. They must have it firsthand knowledge and be a party to your contract, but they never do nor are. Don't argue the charge, the amount, or anything other than subject matter jurisdiction, because when you start to argue the issues, you grant the subject matter jurisdiction. And study your maxims, right? The maxims will help you. Arguments are for the fools. Rebut every affidavit with an affidavit point by point. You're going to sign your address with your name, non-domestic, all in upper and lowercase, in the care of Portland, Maine, or nearby Portland, Maine, with your zip code in brackets. That keeps you out of their jurisdiction. This is all about jurisdiction. When you know who you are, you can write your address accordingly. Put it in brackets. Zip it, that makes you zip exempt. And also only use a stamp, because that doesn't create a jurisdiction problem. Put their stamp machine away. You may take jurisdiction of all letters you send, return receipts, request cards, envelopes, by signing your autograph in red ink in the bottom and the right on both of the front and the back sides of the pages, the cards, the envelopes. And make sure you write it where no one else can sneak a number or mark it past it to the right or underneath your autograph. With the autograph is used instead of a signature. Learn how to sign your name, how to autograph your name. You are responsible for your documents, nobody else. That's why I was saying earlier, you are responsible of your own accounting. You are responsible for your papers. You are responsible for your signatures, right? And you can write, I am not a fictional liability, limited liability entity, otherwise known as a corporation. And all of this information can be changed to suit your particular beliefs or situation. This is your information, not mine, so do as you see fit. Just include it, right? And these are proverbs of the laws. I'm not going to read all of them. I want to, cut the class down a little bit shorter and get some questions and answers that you guys may have. And these are the, proverbs of law. You cannot be bound to a contract if you were hoodwinked. And your rights have prices attached to them. Your right, you might send a fee schedule and notice that any of your rights is worth $1 million, non-negotiable. My offers are non-negotiable, right? They have negotiable instruments. That means you can negotiate it. Your contracts, your trust, your affidavits are non-negotiable because you say so. It is my jurisdiction. It is my domain. As long as I do no harm, as long as you're doing no harm, as long as you're not stealing, cheating, lying, thieving, killing, hurting, as long as you're not causing any harm, you have jurisdiction. And I am the executor and beneficiary of my estate. And I'm telling the trustees what my rights are worth. And when you go into their game with full liability, they never can win. They're limited liability and you are not. If you're a man, you're the executor, or a woman, you are the executor and beneficiary of your estate. The director of board of trustees are the employees. The employees are the trustees. The shareholders are the beneficiaries. Equity is king. My parents invested my abilities in the corporate United States, making me beneficiary of the trust. I own all equity in the trust, all the credit in the corporate United States. I own all the equity in the trust. I am the director of the trust. I set the policy of the trust. It is my job to protect my investments in the trust, my investment in the corporation United States. I am the grantor, the shareholder, the beneficiary of my trust. My signature created the corporation. My name is president and CEO of the corporation. Establish your title at the head of the document as you write. Your name is your title. Your title is your name. I am the sole shareholder of my trust who appointed me as the director of the estate. I am president, director, administrator, agent for the legal person. Start waking up every day saying, I am the beneficiary of my trust. I am the creator of my trust. I am the creator of my life. I am the creator of my thoughts. I am the trustee of my thoughts, meaning you're going to manage your thoughts. I am the beneficiary of my thoughts. I'm the beneficiary of my life. Manage your life accordingly. Manage your thoughts accordingly. Manage your words accordingly, right? When you have a negative thought, that negative thought picks up momentum after 7 seconds, and then it's downhill from there. When you have 7 seconds of positive thoughts, You're creating momentum for those positive thoughts. You're creating space for more positive thoughts to come in. So erase those negative thoughts, create positive thoughts, right? The sole shareholder is the beneficiary who appoints the administrator who directs the public employees to act according to the Constitution, the charter of the trust. If you don't agree with me, you have 21 days to respond with proof of claim to the contrary. You want to give notice to the government first thing. And shareholders receive dividends. I own all the equity in that thing, in the John Doe, right? Arguments are for fools. Send notice of default, then a certificate of default. You're the director in charge. Overrule their presumptions. Establish who you are beforehand. The birth certificate is the true seat of power. It's proof of you. You're the shareholder, investment in the corporation, United States, right? Claim your title, establish who you are, establish the power structure in your mind and in court. Notice them with the fee schedule. Put everything in your fee schedule. It's going to cost you $1 million for using my name. It's going to cost you $1 million for thinking my name, right? Don't even think my name, Judge. It's going to cost you. John Doe, lowercase, uppercase, is the grantor, the shareholder, is the beneficiary. Your all capital name, John Doe, is the executor, the administrator of the trust. Government employees are the administrative trustees of my trust. Corporate law mirrors trust law. Trust law equals corporate law equals Holy Trinity. The owner of the equity controls, right? Your social security number is optional for non-interest bearing accounts. So when you go to the bank, you don't need to provide them your social security number for the non-interest bearing accounts, right? Intent is everything in law. Any ID from the government is no good because it identifies you as having applied for a benefit, making you the public servant, where the government assumes all liability for your actions and therefore has the right to control you. Remove the presumptions, establish the terms. I have not seen any facts, nor have I been proved with any evidence that I am a public servant, and I believe that no such evidence exists. Send this to the courts with a motion to dismiss. All right? They are a private corporation. It is not a matter of public record. It never happened, right? If you don't put it into the public record. Do no harm. All else is okay. My birth certificate makes me the director of my legal person estate. Only man can create value. Equity is commerce and king. Send it to the court. File it with a motion to dismiss the charge. Establish a fee schedule. We are the actual peace officers. Identify yourself your way. Your way is your remedy. Your due process is your remedy. You are the remedy. Create your remedy. Don't copy somebody else's remedy. You can absorb the knowledge from somebody else's remedy and use it accordingly and govern yourself accordingly and use it so you can govern yourself accordingly, so you can move the way that they move, so you can create trust the way that they create trust. But you are your remedy and nobody can stop that. Nobody can take that from you, right? Don't use statutes or codes to defend yourself. When you're using the statutes and codes, you are giving them jurisdiction over you. Stop using the statutes and codes to defend yourself. And don't play the word definition game. You're in the private domain. Traffic equals commerce equals jurisdiction equals performing a function of government. I am the public. The government only has jurisdiction over commercial performers when performing a function of government. Give notice, give notice, give notice, give notice, give notice. Nobody likes to be surprised. When you give them notice, you let them know that you are coming in as the creator, the grantor, the beneficiary, the trustee. You're giving them notice that you're coming in this capacity, right? The Trespass Act, private property equals my body equals my rights. Contract with the DOT. When you start learning about who the DOT is, you're going to start learning about agriculture, that they already have us under agriculture, and that you want to contract with them so you can govern your car, your automobiles, and your family's automobiles, your corporation's automobiles, your trust automobiles, right? Because you will get a plate that says that you can't be fucked with in this reality, right? Give 10-day notice, 3 days to think it over, plus 3 days to deny, plus 3 days for the mail, plus 1 day for grace. That equals 10 days. right? Am I under arrest? Am I free to go? Do you have a warrant for my arrest? Arrest me or let me go. Those should be the 4 questions that you ask a police officer. Am I under arrest? Am I free to go? Do you have a warrant for my arrest? Arrest me or let me go. Remember, when you start to speak to them, they start getting you under their jurisdiction. When they start asking questions, they have the power because they are as king. So asking equals asking as king. So you should be asking the questions. You should be as king, right? Government is merchant law. In a republic, citizens elect officers to manage public servants for the benefit of the citizens. In a corporation, shareholders elect directors to direct employees for the benefit of corporate shareholders. In a trust, grantors appoint executors to manage trustees for the benefit of the grantors. And in court, the corporation appoints judges to sustain or dismiss charges against the accused for the benefit of the state. So the book goes on and it explains the 10 maxims of commercial law. Study your 10 maxims. It has all the biblical scripture that you can go and reference. These are the 10 maxims of law and other maxims of law. If a man-made law is just to be in harmony with God's law, the basis of common law. For this is the only thing that will excuse you. Maxims of law are not commercial law, but are mostly based upon scripture and truth. So when you go in there using scripture, you start learning who you are. You start learning how to maneuver, right? I'm going to keep repeating that, right? And this goes on and it talks about the maxims of law, the different dictionaries that they use. Bouvier, they use Black Law Dictionary, Bouvier Dictionary, Legal Maxims, the Dictionary of Law. But go ahead and if you guys want this PDF or buy the book, just go ahead and finish reading the rest of the book. It goes on and explains a whole bunch of stuff that I would love for you guys to read. If you guys want to reach out to me, get the PDF. If you guys want to buy it yourself, go on Amazon and go ahead and get it yourself. But I just wanted to see if you guys have any questions. Oh my goodness, chat is like booming. I wasn't able to read it because I was sharing my screen. But if you guys have any questions or want to raise your hand and pop on, Tammy can unmute you guys. If you guys have any comments, I would love to hear what you guys got from this Zoom call.
It was so much clarity. Oh my goodness. And same thing goes for credit too. Like using their statutes and codes and coming in through equity and writing your own letters. When my clients, they hand wrote their letters, they got relief, they got remedy faster, and they put their terms and conditions in their letters. And I proofread a lot of them, and I'm like, wow, this is better than something I would have written. So just hearing that today in this book, it literally gave me so much clarity around trusts, around definitions. Yeah, so thank you, Tara.
Awesome. I also want to share before somebody else has another comment or question. I just finished watching Exodus. It's a movie on Tubi, and it was such a great story about Moses. And it talks about how his life was brought up, how he was a prince of Egypt, and then his brother, who became the king of Egypt, Ramsey, wound up exiling him into the desert. And that's where in Exodus chapter 3:13, Moses goes out to the desert, and desert means confused. He was out in the desert. That means he was confused. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know where he came from. And he went to the mountain, right? That's where he saw the burning bush. And in the mountain represents your higher consciousness. So when you tap into your higher consciousness, that's your mountain. And the bush is your cardinal mind because the bush is of earth. The bush comes from Mother Nature, and that's your cardinal mind. That's our human mind, right? And the fire of the burning bush equals spirit. So when he went out into the desert, he was confused. He had to climb the mountain to find the burning bush, which he used his cardinal mind to grasp the reality, the spirit, right? The spirit of God. And then what happened? He came back down, fought his brother, he released his people because he was Hebrew. They thought that he was Phoenician, Egyptian, Phoenician, and he found out that he was Hebrew, and he wound up going back and freeing his people. And then what happened? He grabbed all of his people, brought them down to the Red Sea, and parted the Red Sea and crossed the Red Sea and got to Canaan, because that's where the Hebrew people were going, to the land of Canaan. And that had my aha moment pop on. I'm like, oh my goodness, Moses' story is talking about us separating ourselves from our name. And that's when you separate yourself. That's why God gave him authority to separate the Red Sea. God, because he had clarity, because he had tapped into his higher consciousness, he had spoke to the burning bush, he had connected to spirit. So spirit now is his trustee. Spirit is managing all of his thoughts. He's able to get those downloads on what to do. He wasn't fearful when he got to the Red Sea. He knew that that sea was going to be parted because God gave him the download. God gave him the spirit of the Holy Ghost to part the Red Sea. So God gives us the dominion for us to separate our body from the name, because we are not the name. We are not the all caps name. We are not that estate, right? We have dominion over ourselves now because we have higher consciousness. We have higher clarity now. So I highly suggest go watch the movie Exodus. It's on Tubi, Tubi. And it's about Moses' story and about how I see it as him separating his name from his body, right? And he got to live in the land of freedom after that, right? Because he was no longer bound by his brother's rules and regulations. He was never bound by the Pharaoh, because he became Pharaoh, king, and he was not bound by his rules and regulations, meaning he was no longer a slave of this corporation of the king, right? So I watched it twice because I loved it so much. I'm probably gonna watch it a third time because my man didn't finish the end and I want him to finish the end. So I'm gonna watch it a third time tonight. So I highly suggest you guys go and watch the movie Exodus. And I thank you guys for being here with me and absorbing all this knowledge and learning who you are, learning the positions, learning about your estate, your will, your testament, your trust, that you have the power to create these and that you have the power to rebut the presumptions. Because this is, the courts don't argue facts. They don't argue facts. They don't argue law. They only argue statutes, codes, and presumptions. So I thank you all for being here. Does anybody have anything they want to say? And thank you, Tammy, for sharing that. I appreciate it. Minister, you have anything to say to the community? Oh, actually, I want to plug your St. Augustine trip, your St. Augustine event. It's coming up. I want to show everybody real quick before you pop on. Let me hit share. I want to show you guys, Minister is having a 3-day event. Reclaim your status, reclaim your estate, reclaim your freedom. He's going to be in St. Augustine September 12th through the 14th. It's going to start on a Friday. It starts at, I want to say 6 p.m., 3 p.m. I don't know, I forget. But it's on Friday night. All right. And it lasts till 9 p.m. Saturday is the all day event, and Sunday will be the half day event. That's the one that ends at 3. Sunday ends at 3. But if you guys want to get your tickets, I will add a link on Investing Possibility. I will have a code for you. If you guys want to go ahead and use the link that I provide for you guys, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you want, just go to Minister Be Better page, say Tara sent you, Investing Possibility sent you, say I was on the Zoom call or I'm watching this on YouTube, tell him that, Tara, Investing Possibility sent you, or I will provide a link on the YouTube description, and also I'll put one on my Instagram. So he is going to help you reclaim your estate, just like how he helped me reclaim my estate, right? So I appreciate you more than ever, Minister, for helping me tap into that subconscious mind that you were so generously, helping me to guide my way through that. And I can't wait to join you on this adventure and tour the United States of America, possibly overseas, you know? So I appreciate you, Minister. Is there anything you want to say? Oh, you shared the link? Yeah. The link is in the chat. He's at dinner right now. So I just want to go ahead. If anybody else wants to say anything, I thank you guys all for being here on the live. I thank you guys for watching the replay on YouTube. If you guys can go ahead and donate, the donation links are down below. They're on my profile. If you guys can't donate, just leave a comment. Get my videos out in the algorithm. If you can't do that, share it with somebody. If you don't want to comment and have your name there, just share it with somebody. Write me a DM. Let me know how these videos are doing for you. Let me know if you guys need any help. I'm here to help. I'm here to help guide you. This is my soul's purpose, and I'm standing in my soul's purpose. And I'm honored and grateful to be having such amazing mentors. If you guys haven't seen my other video with Santos Bonocci, I highly, 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 highly suggest you guys go watch that video on Investing Possibility YouTube with Santos Bonocci. You will have another dive deep into the history and why we are here and how this all happened and how all of this got about, and he breaks down etymology, he breaks down the who, what, when, where, how, why. And again, if you guys want this PDF, go ahead and reach out to me. And since everybody is done and leaving comments and nobody wants to pop on, I'll end the video here. And I thank you guys. And also, if you guys want to get your credit fixed, reach out to Tammy at Coach Tammy on Instagram. She's all over my page. So go ahead and check her out and, send her a hello and say, hey, Tara sent me, Investing Possibility sent me. So I thank you guys all for being here. If you guys want the replay, it will be on my YouTube. And I hope you guys have a blessed and amazing, amazing day. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming. See y'all next Saturday. Woohoo.